All right, peace to you, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? Just decided I would squeeze in this quick video in between my break at work and talk about a subject that's been on my mind. And it's after an experience my wife had. She told me about it, and she was talking to somebody about God, and they gave a particular response, and how it just confirmed for me my suspicion that I've had for a while. And now, not suspicion, but my knowledge, because I know this is the fact that not true science, but science in the modern world has been it has been set up in a way to be anti-God and agnostic and atheist. And really, there's no such thing as agnostic. Agnostic is just a wavering atheist. It's atheist. It's atheistic, and it's inherently against God. Not true science, but the way science has been set up in the modern world. And this really proved itself to me when she told me that she was discussing, and I've heard this before as well from other people. She told me she was having a conversation with somebody, and of course she mentions the Most High, because that's the most beloved thing in our life. We always talk about God with everybody all the time. And when she brought up God, the person said, "I don't believe in God, I believe in science." And I've heard this response too, and I'm sure that you guys have heard this as well. "I don't believe in God, but I believe in science." And I've always been taken back by that response, and I've been surprised, shocked, and pretty disgusted as well, because you don't believe in God, you believe in science. What does that even mean? You act like the two are mutually exclusive. No, God created science. God, the very world that we are trying to discover and learn more about and apply the scientific method to, hypothesis, reasoning, logic, deduction, retroduction, all these methods, the very interface that we are trying to apply that to, that was created by God in the first place. And it's just tracing it back to the original cause. God created science, and to act like these two are mutually exclusive is just, it's ridiculous and it's fallacious. But it really shows how science has been set up against God in the modern world, how people think the two are mutually exclusive, how we can't believe in both. Oh, I believe in science, not in God. And how they're in opposition when really they're not. And it's just a confirmation to me again that what we get called as, what gets called today as science, has nothing to do with that whatsoever. It's an anti-God, degenerate, wicked religion from Satan. You know, there can't be any science in the atheistic universe, because in the atheist conception, everything came from random. There is no pattern, there is no rhyme, there is no reason, there is no intelligence. Why are you studying the world and trying to seek out some intelligence, some pattern, some kind of a intellectual property to the world, when it is inherently anti-intellectual? It came from nowhere for no reason, with no rhyme, no pattern, no nothing. You have to believe in God. That is a natural consequence. You believe in God, you believe in divine creation, you believe in intelligent design. Therefore, you try to seek out that design through study, through discipline, through academics. Without that, if everything just came randomly, there's no point in studying anything, because there is no cause, there is no correlation, there is no step one, step two. Everything is just random and happenstance. And this is the direct consequence. The atheistic worldview is inherently anti-intellectual and inherently anti-scientific, whereas the quote-unquote religious, of course I say religious in the traditional sense, because the atheist is religious in the end, but I mean a theistic, God-believing worldview is inherently scientific, because you believe in intelligent design, therefore you are looking for that intelligence in the world. And that's the thing, like, of even just the heliocentric model as a whole. How many times when I even have to, I hate to say it, it's so pathetic that I have to have this conversation with people who call themselves Muslims. They say that, oh, flat earth is not, the compromised ones who don't want to come to the truth of the flat earth. They're like, oh, it's not really that important. But how come every single time I talk to a secular slash agnostic slash atheist, when I try to tell them of the proofs of God, I always say, the main thing I point out is, look at the sun, the moon, and the stars. Look at the cycles that we live in, the seasons, the times, the days. We live our life according to a cycle. We plant our crops according to cycles. I'm going to go to bed tonight and wake up at a certain time tomorrow, depending on the cycle, knowing that the sun is going to rise at a certain time if God wills. You do that, I do that. We all live by cycles and patterns. These cycles and patterns are proof of an intelligent designer. This is not random. How could it be random? We live our life in a systematized way. The whole of nature and creation, seasons, times, months, it's created in a systemized way way, and systemization comes from creation, it comes from intelligence. That's the proof of God. When I tell that to people, and I talk about how we're in the center of the heavenly movements, we see the sun rises, the sun sets, the moon rises, the moon sets, then they always point to the heliocentric model. These atheists, they'll say that, oh, well, no, we're actually not in the center of the universe. We're in the middle of nowhere. We're rotating around the sun. This happens over and over and over. People always defect to the heliocentric model and the doctrines of modern quote-unquote science in order to justify their atheism and their lack of belief. And it's just a confirmation to me why I'm an encouragement as to why I'm writing the book I am. I'm waging a war. This Flat Earth Manifesto, God willing, I am waging a war against a modern form of science and what's become this government-funded, co-opted enterprise which seeks to draw you away and to deter you away from the Most High. And I'm fighting against it. And it's just things like that, statements like that, I don't believe in God, I believe in science. It just proves to me again what science has become in the modern world, or so-called science. And I just wanted to discuss the absurdity of that statement, because we know as believers, as Muslims, these people who say that they don't believe in God, they believe in science, they act like no Muslims and no Christians and no traditionally religious people have ever discovered anything scientific in the world. It's unbelievable. Most of these neo-atheist scumbags, they're completely unread in history and philosophy. They don't understand anything. They don't realize that the majority of the inventions and conveniences and things in the modern world that we enjoy, they were invented by Christians and Muslims. The majority of actual scientists in the world have not been atheists. They've been religious people. They're religious people who believe in God, who trust in the Most High, and they want to study deeply into the creation, kind of as a natural outworking of their love for God, out of their love for the Creator. They want to study deeply the creation. And they don't understand that. Even the people who invented the heliocentric model is just a bunch of Christians. Newton was a Christian. Galileo was a Christian. Copernicus was a Christian. These were all Christian men. And then they act like Newton and these guys. And Newton, forget the model that he invented, the heliocentric model. It's a whole bunch of nonsense, his theories of gravity. But he was a very intellectual man. He did invent a lot of things. He was certainly an astute mind. And they like to act like these people are all a part of their camp, all these inventions, all these guys, but these were all believers in God. They're not a part of your camp. The majority of luxuries and conveniences you enjoy in the modern world, they were invented by people who believe in God and would abhor your deeds. So it's just ridiculous. Atheism is not compatible with science. It is religious belief and belief in the Most High and the tremendous tradition that is truly compatible with science, because in fact, science is an outgrowth of the tremendous tradition. Believing in one God, believing that God created the world according to cycles and patterns and seasons and systems. It's not multiple gods fighting each other at random. It's one God controlling everything according to his will, and then understanding the patterns of creation that he has put in. It comes out of the tremendous tradition, and science should not be in opposition to God, but that is how it has become in the modern world. But anyways, men, that's really all I have to say on the matter. I hope this talk was a blessing, and yeah, peace to you. Remember, deceit abounds, so keep your eyes wide open. Peace out. Assalamu alaikum, men. My name is Walid Naeem, and I have dedicated my entire life towards spreading the truth about the words of God. And I don't know about you, but personally, I have grown sick and tired of all these mainstream religions, and specifically the mosques, which have utterly failed us. I'm fed up with them placing the words of man, specifically their fabricated hadiths, at a higher authority than God's holy scriptures, their lack of knowledge about conspiracy facts and realpolitik, and their complete ignorance of the true nature of our earth. I've had enough of their compromise, their weakness, their lame sermons which put people to sleep, their virtue signaling, their fear of facing any real persecution, and their willingness to let the quote-unquote secular atheist utterly trample over them. The atheists own all of the educational boards and teach their propaganda to every so-called Muslim and quote-unquote non-Muslim child here in the West. And now with the Toyota Corolla hoax, the atheist has successfully broken apart our communities and made us utter slaves to their government. Our so-called quote-unquote Muslim sons are a bunch of wannabe hood rat gangsters who vape, drink, smoke weed, and party like animals. And our so-called quote-unquote Muslim daughters are not much different. They have no interest in hearing about the Word of God. They are all too busy YOLOing. This has all happened while the Imams have been living very comfortably off of the hard-earned money of their community members in the donation bins. As stated before, I personally am completely fed up with this. The mosques have had all of the support, funding, enfranchisement, and time of our communities and have produced absolutely nothing. The atheist has made the so-called quote-unquote Muslim man his bitch. He has steamrolled him in every way possible. That is why I created Eyes Wide Open. This channel exists as a call to action for all of those strong believing men who trust in their Lord fully and refuse to compromise the Quran. It is time the true sons of Adam and the inheritors of the tremendous tradition, in other words, the true Quranic Muslims, to set up something for themselves and fearlessly stand up against the madness that is going on in the world. What you see with my channel right now is only the beginning. These short videos I make in my car are all that I have time for right now, working a full-time job. I scribble these together while at work and make these videos while running errands. But you ain't seen nothing yet. If God should will, I have so much more in store for Eyes Wide Open. I want this to be a platform for the believers. Just a couple of things I have planned for this channel is, firstly, creating scholarly books, documentaries, and essays to arm you guys with the intellectual firepower for dealing with all of our enemies. Secondly, I would like Eyes Wide Open to be a center for heavy activism, public and street preaching, going to City Hall, organizing protests, knocking doors, going to baseball, hockey, soccer, basketball, and other major sporting events and preaching to the people leaving the stadium, going to the totally failed mosques, synagogues, and churches and debating with their religious leaders, going to universities and debating the quote-unquote secular professors on their laughable so-called science, and much more. It's time the believers start to fight back and shake the cage of this disgusting system. My goal is to create a base for the believers. I want people to know of our name, that there are dedicated, zealous, and studious men who do not compromise the Word of God, and we are ready to take action. If we keep waiting for our mosque to do something about the real problems of this world, then we will be waiting until Judgment Day. We need to create something now, from the ground up. With that being said, may God bless us in all of our endeavors and guide us every step of the way. If this sounds like something you are interested in, and if you want to be a part of the movement, then you can help me out. My Patreon and PayPal are linked in the description of every video, and, God willing, if enough generous believers decide to fund this platform, then I can quit my full-time job and look for something part-time, or, even better than that, leave employment completely, which will give me more hours in the day to do this work. I do not care to be rich. All of that stuff is vanity anyways. But the fact of the matter is, my wife and I need to eat and have a roof over our heads. So, if you wish to support the cause, then I thank you sincerely for that and promise to fight with might and main in the cause of God for the believers. If you are not able to, hey, then I totally understand. Find somebody else who needs that money and give it to them. Give it out of fear of your Lord and in dread of that great and terrible day, which is coming to all of us. For all of the believers out there, the brothers and sisters who follow hard upon the truth, all I can say is much love to each and every one of you. May God reward you in this life and the hereafter. Praise goes to God alone. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Peace.